ready? I call this meeting of the Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order. We'll start with reading of our board priorities. Director Snyder.
Our priorities. The Davenport School Board establishes the following priorities to ensure the academic success of all students. 1, provide leadership and direction to improve the overall learning environment in our classrooms, schools, and the district, including health, safety, and security, and happiness of students and staff. Direct and support actions, programs, and activities which reduce the impact of poverty on our students, their families, and our community.
Thank you. Director Kluhl, would you please read our mission and vision statements?
I would love to, but I'd like to defer the reading to one of our student school board members. Olivia, do you have that up? If you could read those, I'd
Working on
appreciate
it. It's almost up.
Almost, okay.
What would you like me to read? Which part?
The vision and mission statements, they should be like right on top.
Got it.
Okay.
The mission statement: enhance each student's abilities to provide by providing a quality education enriched by our diverse community. And the vision statement: education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to a recognition. Superintendent Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a special celebration tonight. We're recognizing one of our employees for receiving a major award from one of our state organizations. So I'd like to ask Ellen Riley to come forward and to explain a little bit about the award itself and to introduce the recipient.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I would love to introduce to you Candy Reed. She was nominated and received the award for Elementary School Counselor of the Year by the Iowa Counselor Association, by the Iowa School Counselor Association. She was recognized in Ankeny on November 3rd and received her award there. Candy has been with the school district as a school counselor for 21 years. She's currently at Garfield Elementary. We're sorry Mike couldn't be with us this evening, so I am kind of standing in as a person who oversees the counseling program, and it is with great pleasure that I tell you that Candy won an incredible award for our district. It's great recognition for her and all her hard work, and let's give her a hand.
Thank you very much. I started in the district 21 years ago at the alternative school, at that time called 2001. Mr. Sherwood and I worked together. I worked after that for, quite a few years at 4 buildings with about 1,450 children. And I now work in 1 building with 423 children. So that speaks to the support the district has given to counselors and how we're able to work more closely with our students, because there are more of us working with fewer students. And I've just always felt very supported by Davenport. I'm excited to represent the elementary counselors of Davenport in the state of Iowa. And one of the very important things I do that I love to do is to mentor new counselors. I've been doing that for quite a bit of time, and new teachers as well. I was a teacher my first half of my career and a counselor the second half. I'm always a teacher, will always be a teacher, and I'm just really excited to be recognized by the state of Iowa. Thank you so much.
We will be having a recognition celebration for Candy at Garfield Elementary on December 11th. That's a Wednesday afternoon from 3 to 5. So if anyone is invited to come and have some punch and cake and tell Candy congratulations. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
Well, that's what I was just going to say, Ellen, is that this is a pretty special event, and it really is to have you here, Candy. And so I would entertain any comments by the board. Director Clough.
Well, Candy, when you're number one, imagine it's kind of hard to be humble.
Oh, yeah, it's really,
But I'm gonna ask you something, and I hope you will be easy about it. It's what did you do that put you in this position of being the best? What is it that was different about what you've done than every other counselor in the state of Iowa has done this year?
this year, I was just recognized for a lot of things that all the counselors do. I really do put a lot of effort into mentoring. I'm part of the TLC leadership team and those kinds of things, plus work with the students in the classroom, plus all those other things. And I can say that, you know, I'm a person at my age, my children are all grown. I have a lot more time to do the work I love to do, and I just go every day trying to do what I love to do. So I'm just almost passionate about it. No, I am passionate about it. My husband thinks that my laptop is connected to me every night that I'm home. So I think I'm involved in a lot of different key things for counselors.
Okay, now let me tell you what she really does. Okay? For 2 series in a row, which would be 6 years, Candy is the only elementary counselor in the state of Iowa to have a recognized ASCA model program, which is the counselor program. And some of you board members may recall signing some documents a couple of years ago, because the board has to approve when you are a certified RAMP program, which is recognized ASCA model program. That's the ASCA is the American School Counselor Association. 2 series in a row, so for 6 years, and nobody else in the state of Iowa has done that. The second thing that she does is help facilitate the Counselor Academy that we run every year through the AEA, and that includes the entire AEA 9 area. So all the counselors that work in the AEA 9 come to this academy, and Candy is the main facilitator and organizer of this project. It is the only professional development designed specifically for counselors on the eastern side of Iowa. So she plays a key role in that. In addition to the fact, like she said, she does mentor new counselors. She's really, Candy's my right-hand woman. When I need something, I call her. When I need someone to take my place, if I'm not able to be in a meeting or be somewhere for new counselors or new teachers or to present, I ask Candy, and she readily does it and does an excellent job. So she is a key player and a leader amongst all of our counselors, but in particular amongst our elementary counselors, and this is a well-deserved award for her.
Yeah, that too.
So it's just a situation, the right person, the right place, at the right time in your life.
Well, I think a lot of what I do is a lot of what counselors do every day. I just have more time in my life because, like I said, my children aren't at home, and the counselors we work with all have families in some form or another, and I just love it. So it keeps me going, and I want to keep going for a few more years. So, yeah, it's just kind of working together. Wow. Wait, there isn't any different. Shannon is our Washington person, and she's doing exactly what I did here a year ago. So she's part of it. She's part of the program. We all work together. We really do appreciate the professional development. On the national level, they're saying counselors don't get professional development, and we can say, yep, in the state of Iowa and AEA 9 in Davenport, Iowa, we get professional development for counselors, run by counselors, and it's really cool. So I appreciate that.
Very fortunate to have you.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Director Crumwitty.
Yes, well, I want to certainly congratulate you, Candy,
Thank you.
and thank you for everything that you've done for our district. But I know that in my experiences in working with the AEA, that you are well recognized throughout the AEA in 20-some school districts. I've heard your name come up many, many times, and so you're a real asset to our district and to this region of the state. So thank you for all that, and thank you for all the counselors that you work with, and thanks to all the counselors in our district, because we do have a great program in our district, and we need to keep it.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you.
thank
so
you,
much.
Candy.
Director Sherwood.
Just a quick comment from the folks that have watched you work. Even as a younger counselor, we were always very impressed with your extraordinarily high standards, personal and professional. And I can't think of anybody who would be a better model for other counselors. You really are a pro. So
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank
It just
you.
feels very good to have the recognition, and it's just says a lot about support for counselors, and we really like to work hard and get things done for kids.
Great.
So it's awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Candy, and thank you, Ellen, for
Thank you.
for helping.
Oh, God. Thank you.
Well, what a nice way to start a meeting. Move on to a presentation, the joint collaboration between the school district and the Davenport Public Library. Superintendent Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rachel Mullins is going to introduce our guests and help lead the discussion.
Thank
Thanks
you for having us. Thank you. I have with me tonight Kenneth Wayne Thompson. He's Executive Director of Davenport Public Library, and Allison McGahey. Allison is our partner with Eastern Iowa Community College's Adult Learning Program, both partners on the Davenport Reads campaign. Kenneth Wayne is going to start us off, and we're going to discuss a little bit about the library partnership, and then Allison and I will finish to talk a little bit more about Davenport Reads.
Thank you, Rachel, and good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. As Rachel stated, I just want to share a few things, some of the work that we're doing with the school, just to keep you posted on where we are. So the wonderful partnership that the library does have with Davenport Community Schools extends to family literacy experiences. Thank you. And among those, I like to point out that this year, the library participated with the GAP Saturday Academy at our Fairmont Library. It was a snowy day, but in spite of the snow, we gave out 47 library cards to families. 54 students participated, and I would say that that was a great success. We are planning on further participation with the GAP program. We were at the kickoff this past 2 Saturdays ago at the Radisson. So we're working on extended involvement with that. And my team is working on the Battle of the Books with a early March send-off. Thank you. One of the key things that we're really proud of is our summer reading program and how all Davenport community schools can participate. And that second bullet is what I really like to elaborate. This past year, we had a 44% increase over previous years. Over 1,500 students participated in our summer reading program. That speaks to volumes and volumes of success. Of course, we like to see those numbers increase, but I'm very proud of that number right there. In addition to over the 1,500 students who participated, over 2,000 students registered for summer reading this past year. And the library will continue to offer a fine forgiveness in the way of read away your fines for any families or participants who have blocked library cards. We want them to have access to resources. So we'll give them an opportunity to read down their fines so that their cards will be in good standing. I'm not going to read each bullet on the slide. Thank you. The library as a partner resource, I'm really excited that we'll have the opportunity to work with, I don't want to mispronounce her name, Shani Ford, with the Stepping Stone Summer Reading Intervention this year. My team and I are going to meet with Shani the first week in December to see how the library can support that effort. And additionally, we're going to see what we can do in the way of literacy supports at the Lincoln Community Center as a way to tie in with the 21st Century Grant. So we're excited about that partnership that we're working with the schools as well. Thank you, Rachel. Creative Arts Academy. I just want you all to know that this was a very wise investment. The facility is wonderful. Several of my staff have shared with me that they really like to hear some children's activity in the library. It's bringing some more life to the library. And one of the great things about the Creative Arts Academy is the students have access to a variety of free electronic databases at the library. And what better person to help them with those databases are our expert reference librarians. So I'm really pleased that the Davenport Public Library can be the media center for the Creative Arts Academy. They have access to unlimited resources. And the other great thing as to why I think it's a very wise investment is at the end of the school day, when that space is empty, it provides us an opportunity to do extended programming to the community where we didn't have any allocated space for that. So we can do extended programming, one-on-one computer training for some of the people in the community. So it's just a win-win, win-win for everyone. And again, thank you for that investment. As I stated earlier, the library is really willing to share any of the free databases that we have, not only with students, but with parents and staff at any of the school districts. Just to name a few of the databases that I think are wonderful, tutor.com is offered online, absolutely free with access with your Davenport Public Library card. You can receive one-on-one tutoring with a certified expert in any grade level, absolutely free. And it's not just for one day, it can be an ongoing. You could have that same tutor throughout the semester. These are the types of resources that we really want to make sure that students, staff, and parents are aware of, and we're willing to come into the schools to do any types of demonstrations and continued workshops with that curriculum. And we are really pleased that the Davenport Schools Foundation is sponsoring Great Minds third grade trips. This year, we have a new marketing and programming supervisor, and she and her team are in the process of developing more engaging visits for the third graders. We want them to have, and those visits will support the reading standards for literature that are offered through the Davenport Community Schools. So when the students come to the school, we just don't want to give them an oh-hum tour of the library. We want them to be engaged with the collection. We want to integrate some tablet learning. We want to know what they're doing in the classroom so that when they come to the library, we can meet their expectations so that when they leave, they'll have a better understanding of some of the resources that they can connect to what they're learning in the classroom. So I'm going to let my talented team create something that's very attractive for the Great Minds third grade trip. And next spring, I'm anticipating some better results. And with that, I'd like to open up for any quick questions. I am a fast talker. I just wanted to highlight some of the great things that we're doing with the partnership with the schools. It is my pleasure to work with Rachel. She is the bomb. And if there's anything that the library can do to further the education for Davenport Community Schools, you know how to reach me. I'll open the floor for anything that I shared or any other questions that you may have.
Anybody? Director Dickman.
Hi.
I'm glad. I know I see a lot of your programs and hearing about even more than I knew about. That's clearly a challenge when you have so many programs, is getting the word out. So I hope that we can help you with that as we move forward, and that you're clearly managing so many programs. It's like keeping all the plates spinning.
I know that's right.
So hopefully we can work with you to make sure that nothing gets kind of forgotten, or like you mentioned, that with the visits, that those kind of had to be redesigned a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
And so just hopefully we can help you keep tabs on what are the projects that need a little work and retooling. And I'm so glad that we have such a great partnership with you guys.
So excellent. Thank you.
Anybody else? Director Snyder.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you as well for coming tonight. I think it's obvious that we feel the library is one of our biggest assets, and I think we work well with each other in that partnership. And if you haven't had the privilege yet to meet Shani, you will absolutely adore her. She is about the best in her field that I have ever seen. And I think that equates to more good things coming from the Davenport Library.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
Anybody else? Director Sherwood.
Kind of a practical question. We are doing a lot of targeted research with various groups. We have a group working on poverty issues. We have groups working on school improvement issues, lots of different kinds of things. What kind of support could we get from you folks in special collections? For instance, we've got 20 or 30 people working on poverty issues that may have an extended reading list. Would it be possible to get that housed at the library where people could have access to that list?
That would not be a problem. Would you also be open to digitizing some of those collections so they can be available online to a broader
Sure.
audience?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd be more than willing to look into that.
I think that might be a real nice resource for the community as we work on some of these community-wide issues.
Sounds like a plan.
Thank you.
Luke?
That tutor.com, that seemed like a really good resource. I'd never heard of it. Do you know, do many people use that?
Yes, this past quarter, our stats increased 33% with tutor.com. And at the end of a budget year, when I have to look at what databases to cut, clearly that's the one that I want to maintain. And if anyone, again, needs a walkthrough or refresher course, someone from my staff can come to a school or a family literacy night and walk you through how to access that.
Cool, thank you.
And it's, once again, it's free with your card.
Anybody else? Director Crumwoody.
Thank you. Just quickly, thank you, Kenneth,
Thank you.
for all that you do for all of our schools and the programs that you offer our schools. And a special thanks for your involvement in the Arts Academy. I know I sat in on some meetings with your board, and not only thanks to you, but thanks to your board for your support with our Arts Academy. We really appreciate that. Thanks.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Director Kluhl.
Well, I know when you first came to town, you said something rather brash. You said that you wanted the Davenport Libraries to be the media center for Davenport schools.
I did.
And I think that with your help, this is coming to fruition. I mean, certainly something you didn't know about when you came here was the Arts Academy,
No.
which even further developed that possibility. So it's great to have partners who are as enthusiastic as you are about working with our kids. And I'm just wondering, any of our young people on the floor, have you been to the library? Have you been there? Raise your hand if you've been to the Davenport Library.
Keep coming.
Everybody.
Keep coming.
Everybody's been there. That's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Anybody else?
Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess we'll move on to Rachel.
I think we're going to continue with just a brief update on Davenport Reads. We were with you October of last year. This was initially an idea that was formed through conversation between Dr. Tate and Mayor Gluba on how to enhance literacy across our community, not just for our students, but for families and citizens. Davenport Reads was formed and a joint resolution created by the Davenport School Board, the Davenport City Council, and Eastern Iowa Community Colleges. And since that time, we've launched a series of programs and campaigns to increase awareness around resources and also to increase coordination between our organizations. I believe you have in your packets kind of a quick update, so we won't go through a lot of the detail, but the launch of the pledge and website, a lot of the interactive tools that are available, a Twitter campaign that aligned with Teen Read Week, and a couple of other new ideas coming on board on programming. One of the exciting collaborations that's emerging at this time is a relationship between the Public Library and Eastern Iowa Community College's Adult Learning Center. Allison McGahey is here tonight to talk a little bit about the role of Eastern Iowa and their adult learning program in the Davenport Reads campaign. Allison, right?
Hello, thank you for having us here. As Rachel was saying, we're excited to be part of the Davenport Reads team, and by we, I'm here to represent Eastern Iowa Community College, as she said, specifically the West Davenport Center on Fairmount Street. We're lucky to be located directly next door to the Fairmount branch of the library, which is really convenient and nice for us. We serve adults in the community who are seeking to earn their high school diploma equivalency, now called the HiSET test instead of GED on the Iowa side of the river. And we also serve adults who are hoping to improve their English speaking skills and listening and writing, so English as a second or other language. And there are also continuing education classes at the center, such as how to cook, how to make the best Christmas cookies or whatever you want to learn like that. But at the center, we do have a lot of parents of students in the district, and some of them, I'm happy to report, are taking classes in English as a second language at Jefferson School this semester. We have, I believe, in the past had some adult ESL classes at buildings in the district, but it hasn't happened for quite a while. So apparently we had funds this year to make that happen. We're also happy to be partnering with the public library system in Davenport to distribute applications and materials for our programs so that adults in the community who need to improve their reading and writing skills and their overall literacy, we're hoping to make them more aware of our services, what we do provide, and how they can come to us. We're also hoping to possibly attend some Davenport Public Library staff meetings so that we could provide just some awareness of what we offer so that the staff there can speak to patrons about how to get help if they need to learn to read and write or improve their English skills. Also happy to report that we received a small grant from the state this year to offer a new class called STAR, Student Achievement in Reading, which has been implemented for years at the K through 12 level across the state, but this is the first time that Eastern Iowa will have this class specifically for adults who are struggling with their basic reading skills. So if they come in and want to improve their, want to go for their high school diploma and are struggling with that reading, we're going to have a specific class, STAR, that will target those needs. So we're going to be working with the library to try to distribute materials about that and get the word out. And just overall, it's also speaking as a member of the Bi-State Literacy Council, I think it's a wonderful idea, Davenport Reads, to take programming and staff that we know are there, we know each other, we know what we offer, but by coming together regularly and talking about this pledge and what we can do, it just makes it a more targeted effort to meet the needs of adults in the community. Anything else I can add or any questions?
So for each of the facets of the relationship between these partners and the Davenport Reads campaign, we wanted to bring just a quick snippet of a program that's making a difference, and Kenneth Wayne walked through some of those. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the Joint Library Card Drive. Through the Davenport Reads campaign, one of the collaborations that we created was really to focus on increasing library card access from our families and across the community. So through a series of outreach activities that Kenneth Wayne and his staff has led, public appearances, time at Hy-Vee, these Dance Away the Fine programs, Read Away the Fine programs, and things like that, was really a focus on increasing circulation and library card access. Our piece of that was aligning those resources from the Davenport Community Schools and participating in a joint library card drive where we actually have an application that's available through the schools. This is a new program this year, so we've just kicked it off and are starting to roll it out into the schools through our libraries registration. We're going to be sending out another mailing, doing a lot of outreach through the third grade library tours that are coming up, that we actually verify address on record so that families don't have to come back into the library with separate ID, that they can actually receive that at home through mailing. So it's a way of simplifying library card access, and one more contribution that we can make through the library, to the library through the Davenport Reads campaign. Our little snippet for this one is that since the launch of the campaign and your joint resolution last October, there's been a 54% increase in new applications for library cards through these joint efforts and the work of Kenneth Wayne and his staff at the library. So another tremendous success for Davenport Reads. So that's it for us, and Allison and I can take any questions as well.
Anybody? Director Dickman.
I love that you're using social media. I think that that's a great way to find people. I can guarantee you that there are people online that need help with their social, their spelling and reading skills. So please do continue and that effort. And then also just the idea of helping the family. You know, if mom and dad see the benefits of education, then they're more likely to say, hey, did you do your homework? Have you finished your reading? And they're going to instill that as an important thing for kids. Maybe any of our friends on the floor here, do your parents read with you? Raise your hand if your parents read with you. Sure. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Director Sherwood.
Yeah, I was interested that you said you're doing ESL through Jefferson.
Yes.
Is that correct? Where else do you operate out of our buildings?
As far as I understand, this semester, that is the one center. I think we would like to do it at more places, and that's something we have talked about, but right now I don't believe there are any plans to expand that. It's just at Jefferson right now.
Okay, good. I would encourage you where you have other programs that maybe outside of ESL, maybe others, maybe those literacy programs you're talking about, or even training programs, that you consider talking to us about that, so that we can make these schools a little more community centers.
I think that's a fantastic idea. And one of our, for our demographic of adult learners, the biggest challenge a lot of them have is transportation and childcare. So I think sometimes if they live on another opposite side of Davenport, if they were having trouble getting to our center, it might be nice to go to their children's school that's closer. And I think that's a great idea.
It was just a thought. But
Yeah, no, I'll pass that along to my dean. That's a great suggestion.
we used to have the bookmobiles, and that became kind of impractical, and we don't have them so much anymore. Do we still have a bookmobile in Davenport?
No, not through Davenport.
I don't think so. But you know what? We're ready for a computer mobile.
No, great point.
We have a lot of low-income folks that have no access to computers. I know your computer labs down at the library are packed from sunup to sundown, and you have some resources that Scott. Maybe we could get together, the three of us, and develop some kind of mobile lab that we could get into these neighborhoods during the summers and weekends and so forth. But that would be a big aid for a lot of our low-income families.
I absolutely agree, and I'll pass that along to my dean. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Director Crumwitty.
Thank you, Director Sherwood, for bringing that up. First of all, I want to thank you for your work, and I would encourage us to have more conversation and perhaps bring both of these folks on board with our poverty group, and because I think that that they may have some things to offer for all of us. You know, one of our two priorities is to help eradicate poverty in this community, and you're doing some of that through your work with your work with literacy, reading and writing, and ELL and so forth. And I think you could be a real asset to our group. So I would encourage us to have more conversation and perhaps be a part, because I think that you two could join us and our force on our poverty committee, which is across the Quad Cities, and help us out. So
Sounds
thank you
excellent.
for your work, and we'll be talking to you more.
All right, sounds great. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Director Kluhl?
Well, I really appreciate the resolution, the sentence that says, whereas families are a child's first teacher and are critical to the learning process for all youth. So important, and Director Dickman talked about the importance of that, and our kids do have parents that read to you, which is great, but what you're doing to help facilitate that is so important. You know, so now we have the Figge Art Museum that has got free Thursdays, is getting parents and children in free. The Putnam getting people in to the museum. What we're doing is breaking down the walls of our school buildings and saying that, you know, education doesn't only take place in our buildings, it takes place all throughout our city. And this kind of collaborative effort surrounding our kids is so wonderful to hear. I appreciate the work that you're doing to make that happen for us all.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
All right, anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. Another
you very
great
much.
presentation. Next up on the agenda is student board reports. However, I'm going to postpone that, and we're going to move to the showcase first, and we'll have the student board reports after that. Superintendent Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President and Board. I'd like to introduce Diana Allen, who's the principal of Washington School, and I'd like to say to you students, you are so well behaved. I'm just very, very impressed, so thank you.
All right. Good evening. My name is Diana Allen, and I am the principal at Washington Elementary School. And this evening, our school showcase is going to be about partnerships in learning. You hear some music right here playing. I'm going to put it up here closer to the mic. And we're not going to do one of those, what do you call it, flash mobs? But what we do know about good education is that after a certain period of time of sitting, we need to do something physical. So everybody clap with the music. Can you hear the music? Can you turn this up? Happy. Now shoulders are back, and clap at the same time. Shoulders forward. Good. Hands up. One. Good. And clap. Now the superintendent was very clear. We only have 10 minutes to do this presentation. So I gave them our first minute in our physical education. We are going to have the music continue to play as we go. I am going to ask that Superintendent Tate, if you'll come and stand in front of the table. Our president, if you'll come and stand in front of the table. We're going to ask that Adrian, would you come and stand? Avi? Okay, and Frank, would you come and stand? And I'm going to ask that our staff will come and gather right behind me here. Keep clapping while we're moving. Frank and Mackenzie, come to me. We are happy to be here tonight. With all the ice and the wind and the cold, I think this is a great testament to Washington Elementary School, our students and parents. And we're going to bring it down for a little bit. Okay, and I'm keeping a close watch on that time. If you notice, we have these red and white shirts on this evening, and we are focusing in on partnerships in learning. I think it was kind of a setup. We are all talking about community tonight, and that's what we're going to talk to you about. At Washington Elementary School, we do have partnerships, and that's what we wanted to highlight tonight, our partnerships here. We have two students. Adrian, would you go to our superintendent of schools and present him with one of our T-shirts? And Avi, would you go to our president right here? And she is going to present, she's been given, she's not going to give it to you yet. If you notice, our T-shirts say, Washington Elementary, I am a hero. Hero stands for help, encourage, respect others. And so that is not only what we do as students and our staff, our families, and our community. And then we have our two students here, Frank, as well as Mackenzie. They're going to read and actually do from memory our presentation. Okay, students.
Without our board and superintendent, we would be a zero. That's why we're letting you know you are a hero.
Okay, you are a hero. You now may present the shirt. Okay, you may go back to your presentation. And shake. All right. You may return to your seats, our leaders. And we're going to ask that our students can stand now and stretch those legs. Finally, I know their legs are like really tired. As we're standing here and our students are here, you see that our staff is right behind me. As I mentioned, we're going to focus on our partnerships and learning. And I know you say, well, we might have heard this before, but that's okay. We know that we have to hear and see things at least 7 to 15 times before it sticks. So if this presentation seems like a little bit redundant, that's okay. It should. And that's the same thing that happens in our schools. Our staff, what is our mission? Partnership with families and community members, Washington Elementary School, a safe and engaging environment where all students achieve their intellectual, social, physical, and emotional potential. Okay. All right. Now we're going to look at what does that intellectual potential mean with our students. And we're going to have our friend Oliver, our fourth grader, hold up intellectual. When we think about our intellectual partners, we think about those of our partners who are helping with our school, of course, our staff here, our families who are out in our audience, and also our community members. We know that there are lots of things that go on intellectually, but our superintendent has given us a charge that reading is number one, and we are all teachers of reading. And that is what is happening also with our community partners. As you can see with our first slide here, on the very first week of school, we had a choice to make whether or not we were going to invite people in on actually the second day of school that we had, and we decided to do that to show the importance of community working with our students. We have our United Way Day of Caring. As you can see, Jerry Jones is there, and he is our director of United Way for our community, and he was actually reading a book along with his staff and our students on the second day of school to show that collaboration of our partnerships in the community. Then to our right and to our left, and I know I'm looking for my pointer that's now down my red, but don't worry about that. We have at our upper right, we have Peach Slicks Up, and then our lower right-hand side, we have Edith Hogan. These are volunteers and our HUG recipients. Edith Hogan, she called me this evening. She wanted to be here, but because of the weather was so poor, she was not able to be here. She's with KSI, our senior citizens that come into our community to help us with our reading initiative. We also have our retired teachers, Margie Scott Craig, who comes in on a regular basis. And we also have our parents, because we said we're in partnership with. If you can see to the left, our parent volunteer, we just most recently went to J.A. Biztown on, what was it, Friday? Our fifth graders, and we were showing reading, the application of reading. Because reading, and of course all the other skills as well, but we wanted to make sure that we highlighted that piece. To our right, we have a Washington Temp at Will. This is one of our long-term guest teachers, but she's now a Temp at Will. She loves Washington so much, she wanted to come back, and you can see it in her upper right-hand corner. The lower left-hand corner, we have one of our parents, the Causens, with his son, Elijah. You can see, of course, that's a science project that's there. 2 hand claps for intellectual partners. All right, let's go on to our social partners. When we think about social, that helps us to develop skills and how we get along with others. As you look at those groups there, you can say, yep, I can see how they can help us do that. Our number one group, though, is socially and how to get along with others would be our parents. If we have any parents in the audience, Washington students, would you please stand? Let's give a round of applause to our parents who are here. Thank you. Remain standing, parents, just for a moment. I do want to share with you, we do have our PTA president, Mrs. Winters, here, if you could raise your hand. And then all of our other parents, if you have students up here, would you raise your hands? Yeah, okay, good. And so the reasons why I wanted them to stand is this year we put it out there. We said we wanted 100% of parent and teacher conferences. We did get 99.9%. All but one family were able to come to our parent-teacher conferences. We had 90% come the week of conferences. The next 10%, we have our family involvement liaison, Mrs. Right up here, Mrs. Campbell, and then we also have Mrs. Brewer, our SAM, and our RTI specialist and counselor, Mrs. Child. We actually went out to the homes to make sure that we got that other 10%. So social and how we get along together, parents, 2 hand claps for them. Okay, we already heard about our great minds as we go along. We're at minute number 4. Keep going. All right, we're looking at our parents and members of Harvest Bible Chapel. They have partnered with us just recently with our Title I Parent Extravaganza. They were a partner there, as well as we just had a family movie night. So when you think of socially getting along, what do we do with families and getting along? Some families didn't have the opportunity to do that, but they provided that experience free of charge. We did sell concessions, but the experience of seeing the movie, parents, what was the movie? Do you remember? Oh, yes, the Lego movie. So we did see the Lego movie a few weeks ago. Next, we have CADS, Esteem Team Lunch Bunch. And as we know, CADS is our Center for Alcohol and Drug Services. And they have a outreach prevention program for lunch. And you might have already heard them earlier. And so they do come and visit with our students during the lunchtime. Ranfeld Chiropractic, as you see upper right-hand corner, we have our 5th grade ambassadors going strong for about the 7th year in a row now, and they provide our limo lunch for our 5th grade ambassadors. Do we have any 5th grade ambassadors who have been, oh, there we go, 2 hand claps for the ambassadors. All right, so they have been, hopefully they're going to be looking forward to that limo lunch. And what that program does, it brings in people from the community to let us know how we are using our skills that we're learning in class, how we use those skills out in the real world. And then you can't read that letter from the outreach, but what it's talking about is random acts of kindness and how we would like to use those random acts of kindness as students to build a stronger community. And Heroes of the Month, you can see a tall lady right back there. I think that's Mrs. Johnson. She was one of our parent Heroes of the Month. We do have one of the antiquated signs where we still put the letters in. I know we're looking at perhaps getting one of the electronic signs, but right now she actually goes outside, rain, shine, sleet, or snow, and changed the sign at the corner of Locust and Eastern. So she was one of our heroes. Let's hear it. Thank you for that life skill. Physical partners in education. As we said first, we're still looking at families, schools, and community as partners. And our communities here, if you look at the upper right-hand corner, Lifetime Eye Health Associates, particularly Dr. Stottleman and his leadership, they would allow us, when our students, their glasses are not working appropriately, then they will fix our glasses, for free, I do want to add. So we are really appreciative to them. And we know the district knows about Shoes That Fit, Coats for Kids, Walmart distributes gloves, and Hy-Vee on our next slide. In the bottom right-hand corner, a dozen Thanksgiving baskets provided to the families from our staff, as well as Hy-Vee did provide us with hams and turkeys. So we really appreciate that. And then, Mr. Curtis, are you here tonight? Okay, he's our physical education teacher, and we know that our partners in learning, our student athlete of the month is Khalil there. 2 hand claps for physical development. Our next one, emotional. Where's our sign? All right, there we go. Emotional partners in our potential of our students. And again, we're looking at, when we think about emotional health, they help us to think about positiveness about ourselves and develop the I can attitude. Everybody say I can. All right. Now, I'm on the committee about closing the achievement gap, and I just came back from NAPSE, which is the National Alliance of Black School Educators. And one of the things I had gone to on closing the achievement gap, they said we need to start with changing the attitude. Because if our students are not understanding our attitude about having that I can attitude, how do we expect to affect the academics? So that's one of the pieces that we're really going to be working with. As you see, parents are in the middle there. Number one, we have our lunch buddies with Big Brothers Big Sisters. We have our District Stars program. And I'm going to ask for Reverend Neuendorf. Would you stand, please? He is our partner with Holy Cross across the street. And he, along with his parishioners, they've come in and adopted us, and they've come in for our lunch buddies. 2 hand claps for him. Thank you. And then also, in the lower right-hand corner, you can see Bethany for Children and Families. And what we're looking at there, we have our school-based therapist, Ann Tate. Are you here? Okay, step out, Ann Tate. I can't see you. Okay. She's our school-based therapist, and she works with our students with their skills, as well as John Huber. I don't know if John is here tonight. Okay, and John Huber works after hours, before, after school, and during the lunchtime with our students, and with developing the skills to have the I can attitude as well as to work with others. 2 hand claps for them. Thank you. Our next slide, you also see in the upper right-hand corner, we have a parent, Crystal Duffy, working with second grade students, and the parent is also one of the parent educators at our building. Next slide, please. Okay, our students are going to do our pledge. I know we did it last year, but we're doing it again. Hands up and begin. And our students are going to do a little dance. Turn that music back up again. Our students, you can turn around and let's show what's on the back of our intellectual, social, physical, and emotional. Okay, they're going to put those pieces of the puzzle. We're going to get a picture of it. Washington Elementary, a place where all students achieve their intellectual, social, physical, and emotional potential through partnerships and learning. Next slide. School, family, community, pieces of the puzzle, and developing happy students, learners at Washington Elementary School. Let's give them a round of applause, everybody. And 10. Excellent job, students. Are there any questions?
Wow. That
I love that you put your T-shirt on right away. Did we get a copy? Did we get a picture of that?
That's really cool.
Tweet it. We are tweeters, so it's being tweeted right now. She's our famous tweeter.
Are there any questions or comments by the board? Director, Director Sherwood, were you?
No, but I think we have to develop some kind of an award for the fastest presentation with the most content. There was a.
I will humbly accept the award with our team. Our team. Let's hear a round of applause for our team. It's a team effort.
There's so much. It's just it's almost overwhelming. You're doing exactly what we talk about here every time we have a meeting. You're engaging the community. You're engaging parents. Staff is enthusiastic. Kids are great. It looks like the place I would want to send my kid. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Director Dickman.
You definitely bring the enthusiasm. I kind of want to be able to bottle that up and share it. Talking about the partnerships that you have with the community, that is so fantastic to hear. You're really taking advantage of your resources. And then also, I don't know if any of the students if you have any courses that you are having a little trouble with. Did any of you know about the online? You go online sometimes? No? Well, and to our student school board members and our parents too, I learned about the tutor.com thing at the same time that you did, all about half an hour ago, and share that. That sounds like a fantastic resource in school employees. That's the kind of thing that when we all come together, we learn from you and can hopefully continue to disseminate that information.
Olivia.
I just have to say, you guys were awesome. And you even had your pledge thing memorized, which is pretty impressive.
Thank you. Olivia?
Anybody else? Director Crumwitty.
I just thought our president would say this, wow. That's his favorite word, wow. But wow to you students, I can't believe you sat there the whole time until the presentation, and then during the presentation, you guys were great. And wow to the staff and Diana for your leadership at Washington, and to all of your partnerships that you have, and a special thanks to the parents, because it takes the entire community to make things like this happen. So, wow, you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Director Snyder.
Real quick, you guys actually sat and fidgeted less than I do, so now I have to behave the rest of the night, or I'm going to look even worse. So you guys all seem pretty happy. What is it about school that you guys are excited to go every day? Because you guys really seem like you're excited about school.
I like it because the teachers challenge me, give me work that's my level, and I love it because that way I get challenged and learn more.
Good. Go ahead, hon.
Because we get recess and we get to go to our...
Really? Is there anything at school that you wish was different, or that you wish you could do different, or that we could do better for you? You like it? Good. You guys really, really were good.
Thank you for your time. We are going to exit. I hope that's okay. Okay?
That everybody here has had a chance. Just a second.
Okay.
Anybody else? Director Dickman.
Okay.
Aveus, can you, have any of you guys had any issues with bullying, and were able to solve that problem in a good way? You were first.
Some people bully me sometimes, and sometimes I go and be sad, but then someone else comes to me and says it's okay.
Oh, so you guys are able to work it out, and you've got good friends? The helping, not the bullying, right? Okay. I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, we got a little more.
Okay.
Director Kluhl.
I just wanted to ask, this was a very frenetic little 20 minutes that we spent here, very busy. But some of you were trying to deal with that, you're sitting there for a long time waiting for the adults to get done talking so you could do your thing. You were standing up there and you were doing the... Now, do you do that at school, or is that something from home?
A little bit.
A little bit at home, but not at school. I just wondered if you had any kind of meditative kind of...
Is Miss Beerhouse here? Miss Beerhouse, give us the stretch, an infamous stretch. We have BSET. She's one of our BSET leaders, and we have a starter, and she always gives us a yoga pose that we need to do. Yeah, yeah. So she's our yoga leader. She really does. And we do have those type of breaks. Teachers, would you agree that you do those kind of breaks in the hands if you do physical breaks so they can see? Yeah, yeah. They do. What did you say?
Go Noodle.
What's that? What's Go Noodle?
It's a computer program, and it's like a little brain break.
So we do brain breaks. What else? Anything? Okay. So we do those. While we read, as a recommendation from Dr. John Q. Adams last year, engaging students in poverty, with poverty in mind, and we looked at some of those strategies, and we began to use some of those strategies in the classroom.
That's great.
Yeah.
Lucky kids.
Yep.
All right, anybody else? Oh, do you have a question?
Oh, and the pizza party.
Ah, that's important, isn't it? Okay. All right, well, I want to say, you know, what a great community and what a great district we have. I was thinking about this meeting. We've spent almost an hour on really, really good stuff. We had Candy up here first, and Kenneth in the Davenport Public Library, Allison, the Eastern Iowa Community College, Rachel, coordinating a lot of things, Diana, and our community members here, and especially you students. And you guys really are just fantastic. And what a way to start our meeting. So thanks a lot. Thanks, Diana. And thanks all of you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Should I ask for a motion to adjourn? I don't think so. I know we're happy. All right. We'll move on to our student board report. Superintendent Tate.
Well, let's start with Central. Caitlin, Luke, we'll start with you guys.
Tonight we have our first district-wide Messiah rehearsal, so that's why half of the board isn't here today. And then our winter sports, they're starting to have open gyms and just practices, so it's really exciting to see the change in gear from the fall sports to the winter sports and a whole new season coming up. And then this past weekend or two, we had our competitive acting group from the drama club compete at the UNI Thespian Festival and just have a good time there and get our name out.
We have our new freshman, or so 8th graders orientation in December. Our Scholastic Bowl team competed in the Thinkers Throwdown over 2 weeks ago, and that's starting to be aired. I can't talk about it because we signed confidentiality agreement, but it's starting to be aired on TV this week. We've started using Remind accounts. A lot of the teachers and coaches have to get, it's a texting app, and they've started to use it to get information out to students. And our state Special Olympics, we had some kids go to state Special Olympics in bowling, and a couple of them had top 4 finishes.
Okay, so at West on Friday we have our first boys basketball. We have an exhibition, and it's an annual thing we do against DeWitt every year, and it's a fundraiser. So all the money raised, it's split in half, and DeWitt gets half, and West gets half, and it goes to different what do you call them? Well, ours is going to the Greg Art Memorial Scholarship Fund, and then also this weekend. Our speech and debate team just got back from the Glenbrook Speech and Debate Tournament, which is one of the hardest tournaments in the country. And we didn't do quite as well as we wanted to, but we did pretty well, so that was good.
Thank you, student board members. Mr. President, that concludes their presentation.
All right. Thank you. Oh, Director DeFoe.
While I have the moment and while the student board members are here, I do believe that Luke was named as a Heisman finalist in the state of Iowa. Is that not the case?
Yes, and and Kyle Verdon from West ended up winning as well. which is
Right.
amazing.
And so I'd like to congratulate you on your endeavors and congratulate Kyle on his being named as the recipient. So
Thank you.
congratulations to both of you.
Thank you for that. Okay, well, we'll move on then to communications. Director Dickman, would you please review those communications with us?
Sure. November 27th, we will be closed because of the holiday. Same for November 28th, closed for the holiday. December 1st, the Committee of the Whole meeting at 5:30 in ASC Jim Hester Boardroom. December 2nd, Legislative Advocacy Committee at 3 p.m. in the ASC Executive Boardroom. December 3rd, Policy Committee, 4 p.m. ASC Executive Boardroom. December 8th, regular meeting, 6 p.m. ASC Jim Hester Boardroom. That is, we will also be having only one regular meeting in December. On December 18th, Mid-City graduation at 7 p.m. in the Galvin Fine Arts Center of St. Ambrose. December 24th, we will be closed for the holiday, and December 25th, we will be closed for the holiday.
Thank you. Next is open forum, and we do have, I think, about 3 requests. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak should fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. The Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president will set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak during open forum. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community during open forum. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. We have 3 requests. First is Jack Jurgena. Second is Vince Jurgena. And third will be Anthony DeSalvo. And please come up to the microphone, give us your name and address, and you'll have 2 minutes each. Jack?
Hey, I'm Jack Jurgena, 503 Stresham, and I just real quick wanted to talk about the block schedule versus 7-period day issue. Last year, middle school, I'm a freshman in Central, by the way. Last year I had 7 block, and I had a tough time like keeping up with all the classes, but it's been like a positive adjustment with the block scheduling, and I think it would be a bad idea to go back to 7-period day, and that's really all I want to talk about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Vince?
I'm Vince Jurgena, 503 East Rushholm, and I also did want to talk to the issue of block scheduling versus traditional. And as I understand it, tonight Dr. Tate is going to talk about pushing that off for another year yet. I hope that's the case. I hope a year from now we're having the same discussion and talking about pushing it back yet another year. And the reason for that, like my son Jack said, is that I think it's beneficial for those students who struggle organizationally. For me as a high school teacher, I think it's a positive way that I can spend more time with my students and reach them and spend, just give them a little bit more of myself if possible. I know that this board is going to be looking at some really, really tough cuts here down the road, and you guys have a really, really weighty decision to make. I would just hope that you guys will try to do your very best to balance those cuts so that they don't directly impact the caliber of teaching that these students receive. I want my son to be able to have the same caliber experiences that his older siblings had as they matriculated from the Davenport Community Schools. I would hope that any budget proposals that come down the pike are going to be looked at with fidelity As I look around this room, ultimately, I think we're all here for the same purpose, and that is to try to provide the best education we can for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. Anthony.
Hi, I know I've been here in the past. A lot of you guys probably recognize me. Probably getting tired of seeing me, but I'm up here to reiterate that.
Anthony, before you start, I need your name and address.
Oh, Anthony DeSalvo, 3929 West Garfield. And I'd just like to strongly suggest the 4-block schedule. It works much better for both the teachers and the students. We work better, more efficiently. We get more interaction. I'd like to remind you guys about the 260 signatures that we got from both North and West High. And I know that Dr. Tate has a really good suggestion coming up tonight, talking about more time to analyze this decision. And I'd also like to say that could we have students participate in this analysis in the future, maybe take a survey or something like that, just to get student input on it. And also on that note, I like to say that we need to think of students before we think of our money. We need to think of other things that we can cut before we can talk about taking stuff away from our education. And there were good reasons that we put this block schedule in 2006. And I like to think about those reasons and why it was put in there in the first place. Like, what changed from then to now that it's not helping us as much as it was then? Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I hope you take this into consideration.
Well, thank you, Jack and Vince and Anthony. Your words are really, really important, and your passion is evident. So thanks for coming and sharing with us. Move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director Crumwoody.
I move the consent agenda as presented by the administration.
Thank you. Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Call for the vote. Director Crumwoody?
Yes.
Director Sherwood?
Yes.
Director DeFow?
Yes.
Director Snyder?
Yes.
Director Dickman?
Yes.
Director Kluhl?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion regarding approval of bills?
Mr. President,
Director Kluhl.
move that the board approve the following recommendation by the administration on the approval of bills. The resolution is as follows. Resolved that all claims presented to the board having been duly certified as correct by the secretary, reviewed by the administration and board members, and they are hereby audited and allowed as just claims and warrants drawn in the treasury for the several amounts. Further resolved, the payment of claims and salaries be approved as presented for the period of November 6, 2014 through November 19, 2014, with the following voided check, and that being check number 322514, payable to Iowa Illinois Office Solutions in the amount of $17,961.22, and that was made out to the wrong vendor.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call for the vote. Director Kluhl?
Yes.
Director Dickman?
Yes.
Director DeFow?
Yes.
Director Sherwood?
Yes.
Director Crumwoody?
Yes.
Director Snyder?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. Motion carries. Move on to the superintendent report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to report on a couple committees that are ongoing just to keep the board advised. A new committee this year is the Achievement Gap Working Group. It's a rather large group which consists of community members, administrators, teachers, parents, and experts from the specialty, the specialists on our curriculum staff. We're meeting about every 2 weeks, and we divide it into 6 subcommittees, and one of those subcommittees is further divided off into a community collaboration group where we're bringing together people who represent the various groups in the community who I think can help us meet some of our challenges. And what I've told the group is that we don't have the answers, we need more help, and I am just eager to have them come on board and help us to solve whatever issues we have that really affect our achievement gap. The other committee is a Blue Ribbon Task Force for Technology, and we're meeting only 2 times. I actually asked the Chamber of Commerce to help me identify people in the community who really knew technology. So I've got some community members, some administrators, and some teachers. And what we're trying to do is identify for the board elements to help you put together a vision. What we have to do is sit down as a board, say, here is our vision, and here's our strategic plan for the coming years. And some of the things that we're looking into is the one-on-one issue, bring your own device, ebooks, interactivity, online courses, distance learning, social media, and on, all the things which we really need to at least think about and put some stakes in the ground and say, here's where we're moving and here's where we want to put our resources. Once I finish with this group, my next group is to put a blue ribbon panel of students together and meet a couple times and have them to help us decide where we need to be going with technology. So I at least wanted to update the board on those groups that are meeting to try to help me and then you to actually carve out our future.
All right, thank you very much. Move on to other items requiring action. May I have a motion regarding approval for Mid-City High School Physical Activity Center structural steel bid package?
Mr. President,
Director Sherwood.
I move that the board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the lowest responsible bid of $294,000 from Tricon for the Mid-City High School Physical Activity Center structural steel bid package.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Just one.
Oh, Director Kluhl.
Just had a question on the wording. The bid is a recapitulation bid, and that's the first time I think I've seen that word used. It sounds like something that might have come out of our Creative Arts Academy, but I wonder if you could explain that.
The recapitulation is a listing of all of the bids. The document we call a recap or recapitulation of bids, where each bid is listed.
Is this something that's different when we're using a project manager, perhaps?
Not that I'm aware. Maybe it's been referred to as a recap of bids or a listing of bids.
Okay. Well, it's just a matter of interest. I've just never seen it used before and thought it kind of interesting, and evidently appropriately used. It's new.
Anything else? Director Sherwood.
Since you're standing there, this bid didn't come to us as a package with all the bids. It's a separate bid. Is there a reason that the timing here is this to capture a price, or why are we doing it separate from the others?
In order to make the schedule for delivery of the project next July, we had to bid in phases as the bid documents were prepared. Okay. And there will be yet another Mid-City, and you'll similarly see, I believe, 2 board actions on different packages for Wood and Fillmore.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you. We'll call for the vote. Director Sherwood.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Dickman.
Yes.
Director Kluhl.
Yes.
Director DeFau.
Yes.
Director Crumwitty.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding approval of change order for Mid-City High School?
Mr. President,
Director Kluhl.
I move that the board approve the administration's recommendation for the change order to reimburse Estes Construction for payment to Nanowall for materials at Mid-City High School in the amount of $72,668.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Director Snyder.
I guess I just wanted to verify, this is not in addition to project costs estimated before. This is basically, we're just paying Estes where we would have paid this other company because they paid for it when it was delivered. Am I understanding that correctly?
Precisely.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right, we'll call for the vote. Director Kluhl.
Yes.
Director Crumwitty.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Dickman.
Yes.
Director DeFau.
Yes.
Director Sherwood.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you. May I have a motion regarding superintendent's recommendation for block versus traditional schedule?
Mr. President,
Director Snyder.
I move that the board accept the administration's recommendation that the Davenport Community School District Board of Directors not change from the block to traditional schedule at Central, North, and West High School for the school years 2015-2016, but keep the budget reduction option open for future years.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Director DeFau.
Prior to discussion, I'd like to hear Dr. Tate's rationale for the recommendation.
Superintendent Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a requirement to reduce our budget for several years in a row in order to meet the unspent balance of $8 million. So I did provide the board with a recommendation for a 3-year plan. Next year is being very specific, and the 2 following years to be somewhat more general. We need to make you need to make a decision on block scheduling now, because if we're going to do it, we need to begin changing schedules effective the 1st of December. And if you're not going to do it, I think it's only fair to the community to know that it's not going to be done for the next school year, and I'm recommending we keep it on for future years. Except for us needing to reduce money, I don't think we'd be discussing going from a block to traditional schedule. I've not heard anything that it wasn't working. Having said that, I need to say that I'm not suggesting the traditional would not work, because I'm convinced that it would. But I would rather, and the reason I didn't suggest we put it in this year, because it is controversial, because it is major change, because we had so many people that teachers and students that did not want to change, that I would like to take a look at what our finances are going to be like next year and the year after before we make such a radical change to our curriculum. I don't know what might be favorable to change, but some of the things could be that our enrollment increases, that we get more from the legislature than we expected to get. So again, being a positive guy, I wanted to hope for the future and to hold this off until we just couldn't do anything else but. So that's my rationale.
Anybody else? Director Dickman.
I do think that this is the right decision for us at this time. I'd like to speak to the community. Many of you have spoken about how you know that we have these harsh budget cuts coming up, and these aren't decisions that we enjoy making. The funding is decided at the state level. You need to help us. You need to write your legislators, both your state senator and your state house representative, and tell them that Davenport schools needs adequate funding. We are being shortchanged in many ways, one of which is a disparity which costs us $2 million a year. That would allow us to keep block scheduling and reinstitute many programs that I know are valuable to so many of our students. So instead of just coming to us, we love hearing from community members, but we need you to be in contact with your state representatives as well and let them know that it is important to you and to your community that your schools be adequately funded.
Anybody else? Director Sherwood.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. The state of Iowa underfunds our public schools by more than $1,000 per student under the national average. And that gap continues to grow. We're not catching up with the rest of the country in spending. We're falling behind. So we really need to make a strong statement to the legislature, who has an enormous cash reserve, I might add, that they're sitting on, so that it isn't that the money's not there. The money is just not being allocated to us. So that's a very important point. I also want to say that this block schedule thing, at the conference we were recently at, speaking to the folks from Muscatine, Iowa, who are now in the process of switching from block to the regular schedule. They have no conflict down there because they found the block to be, in their terms, much more unpopular than the regular schedule, so there isn't any conflict about switching over for them. So that some of this fear is just the lack of knowledge of how it would look, because we've been functioning under the system more than what it would be. The reason I won't support a shift to the regular schedule is because of the additional workload it would cause for teachers. Teachers, are, as far as I'm concerned, are stressed right now. This would increase that load dramatically. I don't even think we could do it, quite frankly, without compensating them, which would mean that we wouldn't save any money. But I wouldn't do it anyway just because of the workload. We ask a lot of our teachers, and if we can avoid piling more work on them, we should avoid doing that. Although with Dr. Tate, I do think it could be made to function. I would encourage the district, and we said this before many times at this board, to continue to investigate a blended system, a system of skinnies. And I know we're doing that in some places in the district, but because we can benefit foreign language and math and so forth from having the traditional schedule, the modified or blended system makes a lot of sense to me, and I would hope that we would be looking in depth at that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Director DeFau.
Thank you. And I appreciate the superintendent's comments and have to say that spent a significant amount of time thinking about this opportunity or this potential budget cut for some time. And I would say that I'm the only person on the board currently that has a student living the schedule. So I feel like it gives me a bit of an advantage to knowing how it's implemented within our schools. That being said, I am disappointed tonight that we're not putting this issue to rest. Rather than kick the can down the road and have a conversation next year or the year following, I was really hoping that we would have a definitive decision as to whether or not this was something we were going to pursue or not. That being said, throughout this process, and even beginning last year when we first talked about it, I started at the beginning thinking that I knew pretty much where I stood, and that if moving from a traditional, or from a block to a traditional schedule was really going to save us $1.5 million, that we would be foolish not to strongly consider it, if not implement it. That being said, and in the course of the last year, I've arrived at a different conclusion. And since I won't be here next year, and I won't get the opportunity to express my opinion, I have a few things that I'd like to share, and I'm going to read a little bit because I didn't want to miss anything. So, a few thoughts. In the last 2 years, we've rolled out several initiatives, all of which were built around the block schedule. Those are the City High concept at West High School, the dual enrollment program at North, and the Creative Arts Academy. I believe that these programs need to be given time to root and to flourish, and modifying the delivery system in which they're being offered so early in implementation, I think could lead to unforeseen consequences to these fledgling programs. I also believe that moving from a block schedule to a traditional schedule may give students yet another reason to open and roll out of our district. And as we're so keenly aware of that loss, I would caution against anything that would encourage students to make choices not to attend the Davenport schools. According to information provided by the administration, the 7-period day would have to include study halls. And I don't understand how that's different from allowing for homework time during the block, except that the classroom teacher is present and can provide additional instruction to their students if it's offered during the block. We are intending or discussing the limitation of course sections as a way to cost contain. So rather than have 3 sections of a specific class, we may only offer 2. As such, I think it's important that we retain the ability of students to move between high schools for instruction that isn't offered at their home school, and a 7-period day would make that impossible. The block schedule affords students with flexibility that the traditional schedule does not. For example, instead of taking show choir for 4 terms at North High School, students can take an elective term 1, show choir terms 2 and 3, and another elective term 4. Multifaceted students would lose that flexibility in a traditional schedule. Likewise, we've heard from a panel of teachers and administrators that the block is more effective in supporting low-achieving students with more classroom time to process and apply the lesson being presented. I think our students who leave school to go to a part-time job, or who may have unstructured home life or take care of siblings while a parent works, may have in-class time as their only opportunity to do schoolwork. Once they leave the building, they lose that. Maintaining the block seems to be one way that we can reduce the impact of poverty on our students and give them some sustained learning opportunity that they don't have outside the school day. And my last 2 cents, if we are going to be looking at a schedule from the educational best interest of our students, we would probably offer a hybrid that allows math and foreign language to be taught in a traditional, aka modified block schedule, while we allow other classes to be offered on a block. So that being said, I've come full circle from where I thought I would be at the beginning of this conversation to where I am now. And I would urge the administration and whatever board is around this table next year to seriously consider the preservation of the block for all the reasons that I've mentioned.
Any other discussion? Director Snyder.
Just to briefly expand upon what Director DeFau as well as Director Sherwood said, when we first started talking about this, I was all over the board in my thinking, and I heard a lot from students that would never work, 7 periods would never work, and I kept saying to myself, well, it's always worked up until about 7 years ago when we switched, but then later when I think, but just because it worked then doesn't mean it's the right thing now. You don't know how or if you can do something better until you try it. And we have tried it. And one of my concerns ever since we threw this out as an option is North High School's dual enrollment program, the City High at West, the Arts Academy, that needs that travel time with the block schedule to get back up to Sudlow. There's just too many things right now that are unanswered as far as teacher compensation. There's been suggestions that we would have to expand on our summer school programs. That does not come without cost. And if the whole purpose we're looking at switching is because of cost, because we don't have data that supports one system is better than the other or works better than the other. In fact, there is no data out there to suggest that. Every school district is unique. What works for one may work for another, but not necessarily work for all. Right now, for me, there are way too many unknowns to even consider going away from the block schedule. And I have strong concerns that a year from now we're going to stress the public again over something that may come to fruition and may not. And that's my biggest concern. We found that with starting school times, how controversial that is. I know the biggest resistance to anything is change. Whatever we do decide, the community will respond, the community will adjust, and we'll move on, and we'll get things done. But I do have a problem with just continuing to, as Director DeFau said, kick the can down the road. I too came around 360 degrees, so I guess 360 would put me back where I started, 180. I too, that if it would save us $1.2 million and nobody can say one way or the other that it's effective, but there's just too many unknowns right now, and we haven't given those other programs their allotted time that they need to flourish, and that's my concern.
Anybody else? Director Kluhl.
Well, I appreciate the words of Director Dickman and Director Sherwood regarding funding. Funding is a critical issue. And if you do choose to write to your legislator, you can go to the Davenport Community School District website for legislative advocacy, and there are addresses there, email addresses, where you can get with your legislator and talk to them about the issues. We also have a number of point papers that are available in terms of funding. At this point, as a district that is losing students, we are fully 16% behind the national average in terms of what we receive for each student. And that's an issue that last week at the Iowa Association of School Boards meetings that we talked about, both in the Legislative Resolutions Committee and in the Urban Education Network Legislative Lobbying Committee. So those are issues that we as a district need to get behind, to work with fellow Iowans to try to help our legislators understand the need to support the infrastructure in our schools. Because honestly, there's no reason why we should be having deliberations like these to talk about removing parts of the education process that are important, that touch kids in the classroom. Whether we're in traditional or block, the change itself is going to be traumatic for students. I also feel very strongly about hanging this out. What Director Snyder and Director DeFal talked about is kicking the can down the road, which I call this sword of Damocles that we're going to continue to hang over people's heads for another year. I hate to push this out. We've done this in the past, but I'm willing to do it because I think there's information that we need before we can make this decision. Hopefully, with sufficient legislative advocacy, we can up the allowable growth, state supplemental aid. Perhaps we'll see an incurrence of students into the district. There are things that could happen, so I am appreciative of the superintendent's proposal to push this out, as hard as that is on our community to have to do this. But again, this is not a school board that wants to hang these things out over the population and our students, but something that because of financial resources we find that we have to take into consideration. So I'm disappointed that we have to carry this out another year, but I think it's the right thing to do, not to go forward with it in the coming school year.
Director Crumwitty.
Well, it's pretty much all been said. I appreciate the comments of my fellow board members. I too have come around on this issue. I originally thought, when I saw the savings involved, over $1 million, and that's quite a chunk of change when we know how much we're going to have to reduce, and it's not going to be easy. And that was one way that certainly could have helped us a lot. But I also listened to the community. I listened to the staff that presented and the students who gave the presentation just, I believe, at our last board meeting. And I've also received several calls and talked to many people about this issue. So the traditional schedule would work. If you look at our urban education networks, 50% of the urban networks are on the traditional schedule. So it's, if it can work in some other urban networks, it could work here in Davenport. But I also understand the differences between our districts and the things that we're trying to do and the programs and the District of Distinction programs that Dr. Tate has brought forward, and I think that the timing's just not right for the block schedule. Like Director DeFaw, I too will not be here after I believe it's 10 more months, and but I would hope that all of us continue this communication with our community, and especially people who are considering running for the board, to help them understand what it means to continue or not continue the block schedule, because this same issue is going to come up again next year. And like Director Dickman has indicated, all of us need to be talking and writing and emailing our legislators. And it seems like it happens only when issues like this come up. We have a financial issue in this district, And we should be constantly contacting them and letting them know that we need more support, financial support in this state. So I urge the students, as well as parents and community members, that you need to start communicating with your legislators so we wouldn't have to have these discussions about reducing some of the things to save money. So thank you to the community for sharing your concerns with us, because certainly it did make a difference.
Anybody else? Director Snyder.
Just real quickly, again, I wanted to, I don't think I'm the bearer of any bad news here, but just because we are postponing this, we hear the phrase a lot, keep cuts as far away from the kids as possible. Unfortunately, with the amount of money we have to cut, that's not going to be possible. Any cut we make is going to affect how our students in the classroom learn. It's our job to make that the least painful as we can, but it will be felt. We have to cut way too much money for it not to be completely hidden. Mr. DeSalvo, I want to commend you again. You've been a student that we've seen numerous amount of times, and your fellow students should be very proud of you for stepping up and coming to speak your mind repeatedly over and over. And no, we are absolutely not sick of hearing you. And yes, I did remember your name, but it's important. It's important to hear from the community. It's important to hear from everybody. But to think in the end that it's going to be all roses is not accurate. It's going to be ugly. We have to cut way too much money for it not to be. We have to look at everything. There's going to be more controversial things going through this that they think, well, why are they looking at that? Because we have to look at everything. There's just too much money involved. But please be patient with us. Please give us the feedback. Do it the correct way. Our email addresses, phone contact information is on the website. Please come to the meetings. We'll work through this together, but it is not going to be without pain.
Student board members, this is one of the last opportunities you'll have to talk on this subject. And I think Rachel made a presentation at our last meeting. And we're getting probably pretty close to calling for the vote. Do any of you have anything that you want to say? Luke?
One thing I was curious about, Mr. Sherwood mentioned if we switch to a modified block with skinnies, that math and foreign languages would be skinnies. Is that correct? Did I hear that? Or okay. The way I understand it then, if a student wasn't in an honors class for either math or foreign languages in middle school, they wouldn't be able to take AP Calculus or AP Spanish or French because there are 4 classes they'd have to take before that. So I feel like doing that, I feel like those 2 areas of classes are 2 of the ones that are more beneficial on the block because you can double up on classes throughout a year. So that's just a thought I had.
Thank you. Olivia or Katie? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Director Dickman.
I'm going to throw another number out there. The district is expected to keep the lights on and pay salaries for staff for just around $6,100 per student. And I think any way you do the math, I think you can figure out why we're pinching our pennies so hard and why we're struggling to keep up the valuable education services that we know will help our students succeed. That's why we need your help. That's why we need you to contact your legislators. Director Kluhl mentioned that you can go to the website to find your legislators' emails. You can also email us. If you need help composing a letter, I personally would be happy to help you figure out how to do that. And please. That's all.
Anybody else? I've got a few comments. One, there's been a lot of talk about contacting legislators, and I attended a kind of a class several weeks ago on legislative advocacy. And at the end of the class, they encouraged us to write letters instead of emailing. And what happens is they said that legislators, they watch the legislators, and they're going through their emails, just deleting them. And it's very easy. But when somebody sends a written note, a letter or a card, that legislator has to open it up and read it. So indeed, I sent one. I said, well, I'll just send one to the governor. And a couple weeks later, I got a call from the governor's office. And it had to do with equity, was the issue that I had addressed in my note. And it was just a couple of sentences. But all of us have encouraged advocacy, and I would encourage that particular portion of writing to the legislators or to the governor. At least it might be more effective. I've done a lot of emailing, and I have gotten responses from some emails, but I was pretty impressed with receiving that call back. Some of the the discussions have talked about some sort of a modified system, and that's generally where I've been, is thinking that there must be something when we talk about it's block versus traditional. And that's even the way that our subject for this motion was written. And and I don't see it quite that way, and I do think about the educational best interests for all of our students. And when we had that panel here, the discussion talked about pros and cons of some of these for the different classes that Director Sherwood was alluding to. And my guess is that there is some sort of a modified something that we can get to. I acknowledge the concern for not making a decision that several of the board members have made, and yet I accept that the superintendent's recommendation is the right recommendation for now to not make that change in the coming year. And I think that the administration will be further investigating and probably thinking and making other decisions or recommendations. Now, when this comes, who knows? You know, there are 3 of you that have indicated that you aren't going to be here next year. And so that could be a tough vote if it comes next late fall or winter or by November. So anyway, I appreciate all of the discussion here, and I guess with that, unless there's anything else, I'm going to call for the vote. Director Cromwitty, did you have something? Oh, okay. Anybody else? All right. Oh, Director Kluhl.
Just a thought. You mentioned the fact that maybe there's some kind of modified schedule. In attending the Iowa Association of School Boards meeting last week, we were challenged to think differently. We had a couple of plenary speakers who were talking about the way kids learn. The fact that these kids that sat down here on the floor today, we have no idea what job to prepare them for, because the job that they're going to be going into probably doesn't exist today. All of the learning that's going on with our high school students outside of the school building, with social media, with information at your fingertips. You're learning outside of school buildings now. The whole role of schools is changing. So there may be opportunities that come up within a year's time with the way that technology is pushing us so quickly into the future, that maybe there will be a less painful way to deal with this if, in fact, funding doesn't happen the traditional way. So those words of yours reminded me of that charge that we received last week to think differently, think about the lives of the students and not the way that it's always been. Just, I was going to mention that later during board announcements, but it just comes up as something that is very appropriate at this point as we look into the future.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, we'll call for the vote. Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Dickman.
Yes.
Director Crumwoody.
Yes.
Director Kluhl.
Yes.
Director DeFau.
Yes.
Director Sherwood.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Move on to discussion items. Superintendent Tate.
Thank you, Mr. President. At one of our monthly meetings with the Teacher Leadership and Compensation System group, I asked them to think about the possibility of putting up signs for our over 100 model teachers near their classrooms so people would know who they are, and really I'm leaving that up to them. But I had a counter recommendation, and that was, what about plaques for our board certified teachers? Now, Rebecca, we have about 13 in the district right now.
2 new ones passed this year.
Oh, good.
Sarah McGlynn and Janelle Vanderson.
Okay.
We had 2 pass. Scores were released last week.
Okay, great. Congratulations to them. But my thought is I wanted to see if the board would like us to think about that and perhaps coming back with a recommendation about what it would look like. And to talk more, I want to talk with the DEA more too and get their ideas and thoughts on it. But first I wanted to bring it up to the board and see what you're thinking.
Comments? Director Snyder.
I think that is absolutely appropriate. That is a huge honor. And if you think about it, we have, how many did you say, Rebecca? 17? 13. 13 teachers out of 1,700 or so. That's, or 1,700 staff anyway, but that's pretty phenomenal. I definitely think that they should have some sort of recognition.
Anybody else? Director DeFau.
Yeah, I too think it's appropriate to recognize the accomplishments of the board certified teachers. However, I would want to do so in such a way that we would not have to move or change the plaque system as teachers move and change within buildings in the district. So whereas it might be nice to have something at the building level, it might be even more appropriate to have something in the boardroom here as well that would permanently recognize those board certified teachers. As you know, teachers move classrooms within buildings, teachers move within buildings. That's the only concern I would have about affixing something permanent outside a classroom.
Director Sherwood.
You know, many states have a significant dollar reward for these folks that achieve this thing. We haven't done that, and we can't afford to do it in the district. So I think the plaque's a nice idea, but I would think bigger. I think in ways of other ways you might honor these folks and draw attention to this, because for 2 reasons. One, that they've done an enormous amount of work to get there, and if you haven't seen what that process looks like, it is unbelievable. And the other thing is to encourage others to do the same thing. So, you know, the more high profile we can make these folks, the better it is for them, better it is for us. And so the plaques are nice, but I would think in terms of other things, and whatever that might be, you know, honor dinner every year, some kind of a presentation to the community when we get a new one, recognition before this board every time we get a new one, some kind of a package of ideas rather than a single idea. We can't compensate with dollars. We can certainly do it with honorifics.
Anybody else? Director Snyder.
I guess I actually would like to see something in the buildings too, because I would like the parents when they walk into that building to see that that building has an industry-leading, top-notch teacher in that building. I don't know how that would look with, I don't want to see plaques come up, come down, disappear, go from building to building, but I would like to see something in the buildings as one, to give, for a building that doesn't have one, there's an incentive there to be the one with the plaque hanging. And I too agree with Director Sherwood that, that is a huge time-consuming, challenging undertaking to become board certified. And there needs to be some sort of a reward or compensation in there as well. So I think that's something that we should look at as a board.
Anybody else? Director Cromwell.
I like the idea. However, I think we do need to be careful with it, like Director Defoe indicated, because my experience is there's a lot of movement in and out of rooms. When we remodel schools, we change rooms. So hopefully it wouldn't be something that was permanently placed in front of a classroom. But I also think we need to be a little careful about how we're thinking about this. Tonight we honored Candy Reed. Do we put, she just received a huge honor. We have other teachers in this district who have received huge honors. And so are we going to put plaques in front of their offices? Because we have a great number of outstanding people who have received awards. So I think we need to think it through before we charge ahead and just recognize a certain group who have accomplished this. Candy Reed's just accomplished a huge award, and there are other people also. So let's think about it a little bit before we charge ahead.
Director Dickman.
Have we considered doing some form of, sitting on the table plaque, something that a teacher could add to their desk if they feel so inclined, or if they want to be shy about it, then they can maybe face it towards themselves and remind them that they've done all this really hard work. Just as suggesting as a possible solution. I do think that there's an incentive effect, and I do think that we need to honor all the hard work and what amazing teachers that we have and other staff, and I think that might solve those problems.
Director Clough.
Well, I think the superintendent's recommendation is a good one. I would leave it up to administration in terms of how the hardware is placed. I like the idea of having it outside the classroom. I think there was some discussion about how that could be done in a way that if a teacher moved from classroom to classroom, that could be done. And possibly something here in our room as well, as Director Defoe stated. There are any number of people who we would like to honor in our school district, and I think this is a start. I don't know if you've if many of you have talked to nationally certified teachers, there's something different. I mean, all of our teachers are wonderful, but the certified teachers that I've talked to are inspiring people. Perhaps, partly because of, genetics that drove them to get that certification, or maybe it's something in the certification process, I don't know, but it's pretty wonderful. And it's not the everything of recognizing everybody that deserves recognition, but it's a start, and I think that we should have an ongoing conversation about people like, our counselor who received this award. I think we should recognize them in an appropriate way. But I think administration's recommendation as a start to recognize these nationally certified teachers is excellent. They deserve it. They're role models for all of us and our students as well, and let's recognize it, celebrate it.
Anybody else? Student board members? Anything? Okay, Luke.
I had never heard of this program, so I think definitely if the teachers are putting in all this work, they should be recognized. And I mean, I haven't heard anything about it, so I mean, I don't think they are right now. So I think definitely something could be done.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? All right. Oh, Director Sherwood.
Yeah, just closing shot here. I tend to agree with what Ken and Nikki are talking about. we have a lot of folks that do wonderful things. I don't know that it's an unlimited number of people that do those things. We have a limited number every year that do. And without getting into the weeds about how you deal with that, I do think that I would encourage the administration to look at a broader concept of how we deal with that throughout the district. Not just for these folks who I think are a special case, quite frankly, but for all these people. We have science teachers that get awards, we have principals that get awards, we probably have custodians that get awards that I don't hear about. So they deserve recognition as well, but that's part of a good organization. Finding ways to celebrate and honor the people that are moving us forward should be part of our operating policy. And if we don't have it in policy, maybe that's something the policy committee should look at, is how we do that. But it is I think a central feature of what a good district looks like. So, and as far as I'm concerned, we put another reader board at Brady Street Stadium and just keep that full of these folks' names year round. It wouldn't bother me.
Okay, a lot of great discussion, good ideas. Superintendent Tate, do you have enough to move forward? More than enough. Okay, thank you. What I heard was consensus that we should move forward, though. So I think we'll end the discussion there, and it isn't even 8 o'clock yet, I have to note. So we'll move into administrative reports.
None, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very much. How about board reports or requests? I do have one, I have one request here.
Yeah, more coming.
Oh, more, whoa. I guess so. Are there any board reports? I would expect some after last week.
Mr. President?
Director Sherwood.
Yeah, I've got a ream here. We spoke briefly about this in Des Moines, but we went through a presentation by Margaret Buckton and others at the UEN dinner on the financial situation in the state as far as education is concerned and what that looks like. That's information that, quite frankly, I still believe we need to share with the local community, including the press who are still here. Oh, yeah, welcome. Very good. They need to hear this story as well. These are the folks that can make a difference, and to arm the citizens of Davenport with the kind of information that we heard as they go forward to talk to the legislators would be very valuable. So I would encourage the Legislative Advocacy Committee to put together a community meeting and ask Margaret, and Margaret Buckton said she would come down to do that presentation for the community. And I think that as many folks as we could get into a room to hear that presentation, the stronger our case would be going into this legislative session. So whether it happens in December or January, but as soon as possible, I would encourage that we would do that. Let's see. And I think the rest of this is probably on my request. Oh, one other thing. And I think I mentioned this to you folks as well. I spoke to people from West Liberty who have a Spanish immersion program starting pre-K through 8th grade. And since they've instigated that program, we've talked about a similar thing in our Schools of Excellence program here. I think we talked about targeting, and I may be incorrect at this, targeting one school or something like that to do this. I'm not sure how they did it, but they have, at least they said, they have seen a serious influx of folks from out of the district bringing kids in to put them into those programs. And I think that something we should look at as not only a good educational move, but it might also be a good fiscal move. I think that's one of those schools of excellence ideas that may have some legs as far as bolstering our attendance. And I would encourage the administration to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Director DeFau.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that North High School performed a studio cut of their fall production, Children of a Lesser God, at the State Thespian Festival last weekend, and they were chosen as chapter select and invited to perform at the International Thespian Festival next June in Lincoln, Nebraska, of all places. Just to mention that it will cost approximately $16,000 for that group to go and attend the week-long Thespian Festival and to perform at that venue. So there will be an encore fundraising performance sometime this spring, and I'm sure plenty of fundraising opportunities between now and then. But congratulations to them.
They're going to win, too.
Great, thank you. Any other reports? Director Crumwoody.
Yes, I'd like to talk about the IASB convention, and there were 5 of us that attended this year, and that was great to have that much representation. I know all board members can't participate, but it was great having 5 members there from our district. And I want to first of all commend Director Snyder for his work in the delegate assembly, because for a first-year person, Jamie, you did a phenomenal job. And Jamie presented a couple of brand new resolutions that we as a board didn't even really talk about. And he got up there and presented those, and he got 50%. He got one passed and the other one didn't quite make it, but we're not going to give up, right? So Jamie did a great job. And just to talk about, you know, if you go through all the resolutions, the entire slate passed except for a couple. And the priorities are, first of all, the Iowa Corps, that we are on board as the association to support the Iowa Corps. Transportation is a huge issue across the state. It ranges from $30 a student to $1,000 a student. And so one of our priorities was to come up with different funding for transportation in our state. Preschool access, and that was debated a little bit. We had some competition about having access for all 3- and 4-year-olds, and we stood our ground and said, no, we need to get all 4-year-olds in preschool first, and also to provide them with transportation so it is accessible. Supplemental aid at 6%. AEA funding. The AEAs have really suffered in their funding over the past few years. Over $70 million has been cut out of their budgets, and so to restore that money. And then another brand new one was mental health, and especially mental health support at the elementary level. So that was great. We also were involved in some presentations. Director Kluhl and myself gave a presentation on student engagement, and not just student engagement, also family engagement. So we tooted our horn a little bit about our visioning process, going back to that, what our priorities are with poverty and school climate and happiness, and also talked about the District of Distinction and some of the programs that we're doing in our district to enhance more students to get involved with our schools. And I don't know, Director Kluhl, do you want to say any more about that?
I think you pretty well got it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then, last but not least, I also helped with a presentation on poverty. And I was actually the moderator, but also had opportunities to interact and share what we're doing in our district. And the districts presenting were Des Moines, Ankeny, and Boone. And the whole poverty issue is a huge issue, not only in urban districts like Davenport, but across the state. And some of the rural districts, or many of the rural districts, have poverty issues that they're wrestling with, and how to deal with them. And so we heard from smaller districts and also an urban district. And then I presented some of the things that we're doing with our poverty committee. And the Iowa School Board Association is very interested in what Davenport's doing, and will be calling upon us also to assist later with poverty presentations and what we're doing. So Director Sherwood, get ready, because Director Sherwood is the chair of that poverty committee, and by the way, doing a great job. So that was the convention. It was great. I think the sessions were good, and Director Cool talked a little bit about some of the sessions, but it was a good conference. The other thing I want to talk about, I've been having conversations. One of our resolutions on the Iowa School Board Association was there is a real concern across the state of Iowa about 4-year board terms. And very honestly, that's why I am not running this next time. If it were a 3-year term, I would strongly consider it. But changing it back to 3-year terms instead of 4-year terms, and that passed overwhelmingly in our delegate assembly. Where it's going to go with the legislature, we don't know. But one of the conversations that we had on the Legislative Resolutions Committee this summer was to help people who are thinking about running for the school board have a better understanding about what school board members do. There are now standards for school board members that have been developed. And Bill Decker, who is the head of the Area Education Agency, was at the convention, and Bill and I had a conversation about. I was sharing with him what I was going to suggest to our board about having a special workshop for people who are considering running for the board. Director Decker is interested in participating with that AEA-wide, and that then we could break out by districts if we have people that are considering running by districts to talk to them about our issues, just like what we talked about tonight with the block schedule, those kinds of things, to bring people up to date as to what the issues are in Davenport and the different districts across AEA 9. And the Iowa School Board Association, and I'm not sure if Lisa, if she's available, I'm quite sure she would be here to also facilitate that. So something for us to think about, and if we as a board think that that would be a great thing to do in our district, I will go back to Bill and talk to him about how we go about doing that. So just want to share those things.
Thank you. Any additional reports? Director Dickman.
I also had the opportunity to go to the school board convention, and I have to say, part of my favorite parts, excuse me, one of my favorite parts is the idea sharing. And there are many other districts in Iowa that have piloted all sorts of different programs, and that we can then not have to reinvent the wheel. Two of the ones that especially stuck out in my mind were in the Waterloo district. They were talking about the leader in me, and that was a great, it sounded like a great way to teach kids the language that they're going to need in whatever kind of leadership positions they could take on in the future. And then also Iowa Big, which was geared, I can't remember which district it was, but it was geared towards high school students, and providing them a learning option where they would never have to ask, why do I have to learn this? Because it's directly impacting their lives right now, teaching them skills that they are using right now. And so I'm really excited that we got to hear about those, and that we can hopefully, if the legislature does see fit to give us enough room to experiment, that we have templates that we can copy and where we can at least look at.
Director Sherwood.
Yeah, Maria, just for your information, Madison School has a really robust Leader in Me program, and you go over and check it out. It's very, very impressive.
Any other reports? Director Snyder.
I wanted to real quick say there was some Bettendorf students there as well that participated in a presentation at the closing ceremonies, and I sent their principal over at Bettendorf High School an email this morning. Those kids did an outstanding job representing the Quad Cities. They spoke very well, very clearly, very upbeat about their school and the area in general. And I was real proud to have some of our neighboring kids there a part of that presentation.
Director Klool, you've
Well, sure.
been wanting to get in there.
Yeah, patient. My comrades have pretty much talked about everything that went on. Just a brief update on the Urban Education Network. We also established our legislative priorities for the year. The first one being funding adequacy, 6% allowable growth. Again, here in Davenport, in Iowa, we're $1,657 below the national average of what other states are providing for education. So although we receive approximately 50% of state tax dollars, we're still considerably beneath the amount of money that other states find it prudent to spend in the infrastructure for our students every year. Student mental health services. Mental health is an issue that is also that the Iowa Association of School Boards is proposing, but there is such a need, an increasing need in terms of mental health with our students. We need to spend time with them, but one of the things that we talked about in the steering committee is that we can't do all of this ourselves. Mental health is a huge issue. We can do a part of it. We have children when they come in the door at preschool through 12, but we need to get those kids prenatal through 5. So we need to collaborate with our community to also talk with legislators in unison as a choir to say, look, there are increasing mental health needs and there will be increasing costs involved. An issue that the Iowa Association of School Boards didn't bring up is extending the statewide penny sales tax. That statewide penny is due to retire in a very short amount of time, and we need to continue to support that because it's done so many things for our schools here in Davenport and across Iowa. And actually, taxpayers would rather pay through sales tax than property tax, so this is something that we need to continue. The fourth priority is childhood poverty and at-risk student waiting. We're doing a lot of work to move ourselves ahead in terms of our graduation rate, and we need continued funding and support for that. And the last item that we were able to move up, an item that's been very important to us and that actually former President Zamora brought up probably 5 or 6 years ago, and that's equity that I mentioned previously. And we talked about this at our ice cream social here when we had our legislators here. It is morally unjustifiable that some students in the state of Iowa are valued over others. We have a district very close to us that gets $175 per student more than we do per student. Now that may not seem like a lot, but if you multiply that times 16,500, it's in the millions of dollars. That's funding, that's resources that we could use here, again, to preclude having the conversation that we're going to be continuing to have over the next year about issues like our block versus traditional schedule. Things that we needn't be talking about at this school board table, but we will continue to do because of lack of funding. So there are some moral issues involved here, some ethical issues. We've confronted our legislators with them, but we need to continue to confront them with the basic facts. They're going to be reading about it on the news, they're going to be seeing it in the media, but they should not be surprised when they see these issues of school closure coming up, changing things that affect kids in the classroom. So anyway, again, I think between the Iowa Association of School Boards, the Urban Education Network, our legislative advocacy, and we will certainly talk about having Margaret come up here and trying to engage the larger audience in this conversation. Our children depend on it.
Any other reports? Director Sherwood.
Yeah, I'm sorry to make this protracted. I did want to mention the Poverty Committee, though, and our hope was that we would come to you sometime in December with at least an initial report. One of our subcommittees is having needs more time to work, so that's going to happen probably in January. So at some point, I'd like the committee to allow us a little bit of time to do a presentation in January.
Any other reports? Okay, great. I do have a few requests. First is a request from Director Sherwood, 11/24/14, agenda item, discussion to establish an occasional schedule of board meetings in the schools. An agenda item, request from Director Sherwood, 11/24/14, a discussion and presentation on community schools with the possible goal of adopting community schools and a district-wide model. Information request from Director Sherwood, 11/24/14. I would like a recommendation from the superintendent on the feasibility of closing buildings to address our fiscal shortfalls. Agenda item request from Director Sherwood, 11/24/14, to discuss the possibility of adopting a third board priority, that being sustainability. Agenda item request from Director Dickman, 11/24/14, have a board discussion about the, in quotation marks, tools of the mind curriculum and the importance of incorporating executive function and self-restraint into the curricular school day. Looks like about it. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you guys for hanging out.